As always, let's start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So you can, he doesn't want to speak, but you can try to talk him into it if you want.
I see that we had one name on public comment that was crossed out, but I do want to recognize our former chair and friend of Metro, Craig C. I'm glad you could be here. Yes. So my comments today are all centered around the empty chair next to me. Gwen Robinson passed away. And that's hard. I think for so many different reasons. But I'm going to try and turn it around to some positivity if I can. Because Gwen was such an amazing leader. She guided this organization, this board, city, and at her celebration of life this past Sunday, I was taken by all the amazing things that people talked about and what she did that I didn't even know about. Like I knew of her as this amazing and accomplished person, and then there's more. There was more. And themes that came out there were spectacular. Is it Cedric Denson who talked about how he got his first job because of Gwen, right? And her work connecting leaders to their first jobs, the city, all kinds of people to employment was really quite breathtaking. And then the number of people who just felt so deeply connected to her that she led them, she guided them, she taught them, she was their friend. And Daryl commented about how she's his family. And I know so many people at this table, so many people listening, so many people here in the room had that connection with her as well. I'll say on a personal level and connected to Metro, it'll be hard not to be able to call her and just get her opinion on something. And I heard these themes too from so many people, like she would make you feel like everything's going to be okay. But then at the same point, she'd hit the issues hard, right on, ask the right questions and push you, but make you feel good and laugh. I think that's one of the hardest things for me is miss the laugh. And it was good to hear that recording of her voice on Sunday as well. But still miss the actual voice. So we have a few things to remember her today, and it's not enough. And there may be more, but these are things that we want to do today. We have a video, right?
Play it at the end.
We'll play that at the end. There is a bus downstairs on the road that is wrapped in her honor. I haven't seen it yet. I came in too early, but I understand a few people have seen it, and I hear it's absolutely amazing. And we'll be going around the city as long as possible, remembering her. I've also got a resolution here, and I hope that we can see that and get it signed. Do we need a vote on it?
Yes.
I think it would be good if we can to vote to pass this resolution. And the first thing, this is connected. The first thing I thought in remembering Gwen was that I wanted her, again, in this room, asking the hard questions, pushing us to not be okay with where things are at, but always push for better. And I said, let's name the boardroom after her. And that will push us to remember Gwen in every board meeting and have her presence as a part of the leadership for SORTA forever.
Yes.
So I don't know if I should read this, but well, I'll give it a shot. So whereas Gwen Robinson has served with distinction on the Southwest Ohio Regional Transit Authority Board for 13 years, demonstrating unwavering dedication, leadership, and vision. Whereas Gwen Robinson was instrumental in the successful passage of the Issue 7 Transit Ballot Initiative, a transformational measure that secured critical funding to enhance and expand public transportation throughout Hamilton County. And whereas she was a tireless champion for equitable and accessible public transit, advocating for robust transportation services that connect and uplift all residents of Greater Cincinnati. And whereas Ms. Robinson was a fierce advocate for disadvantaged business enterprises and small business partnerships, ensuring that transit investments fostered economic opportunities and promoted diversity, equity, and inclusion. And whereas throughout her career and beyond, Ms. Robinson dedicated herself to building and strengthening the lives of Hamilton County citizens throughout her passion and service, or for service and community advocacy. And whereas in recognition of her extraordinary contributions and lasting impact of public transit in Greater Cincinnati, the SORTA Board of Trustees desires to honor her legacy in a meaningful and enduring way. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Southwest Ohio Regional Transit Authority Board of Trustees, on the 25th day of March 2025, hereby dedicates its boardroom as the Gwen L. Robinson Boardroom in grateful recognition of her remarkable service, leadership, and advocacy. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Ms. Robinson's family as a token of appreciation for her invaluable contributions to public transportation and the Greater Cincinnati community. Adopted the 25th day of March 2025. So I will make that motion. Thank you. Klaus seconds. I think we could go straight into a roll call vote on that, or can we do all in favor?
All in favor and then the roll.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say left. All right, motion passes.
And roll
And
call.
you'll see that we actually already have her name outside the door of the room.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that we can get a wonderful picture of her posted in here to remind us of her every time we have a meeting. Last thing is that, oh, yep, that's what I was about to do. Thank you. We're going to have an opportunity to take a ride in that amazing bus downstairs with a police escort, and we're going to go up around CAA and have some time to share memories and honor Gwen as soon as we're done with the necessary business that we have to get taken care of, that Gwen would want us to take care of. So please come along on that ride. All right, well, let's get to that work. I think that's what Gwen would want, so let's do it. We need to approve the board minutes. Thank you, Pete. Moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say left. Abstentions? All right, the minutes are approved. Finance Committee, Ms. Clark could not make it this morning. I don't think that we have any action items. So Mr. Welker and I talked it over. He'll go over the financials as he would normally after we go through the rest of the committees. All right. So then we can move right on. Mr. Driehaus, I think you do have a few action items and some updates.
We do. We had a great meeting. Thank you all for attending our meeting. We had a lot of good news updates. So thank you to really all the staff that chimed in on the updates, the executive team. Specifically, we moved 4 items forward on the consent agenda and 1 item forward as an action item. On the consent agenda, it is maybe appropriate that one of the items on the consent agenda that we don't normally go in and talk too much about the consent agenda, but Bill elaborated quite a bit on the break room contract, and it happens to be a large MBE spend. So we year to date we're at 0 MBE spend, which is unusual for us the last couple of years, but this got us well above. Well off the mat and a nice number. I don't have the percentage in front of me, but I think Ms. Robinson would be quite happy with that vote as well. So those 4 items are on consent. There's 1 action item. It's about Title VI. There was an update provided about Title VI. Our staff has done tremendous work adhering to the requirements of the federal government. And the action item that we want to put forth reads as follows. We recommend that the Board of Trustees approve a resolution authorizing a CEO of our organization to submit the updated Title VI program to the Federal Transportation Administration by April 1st of 2025. That's the motion. Is there a second to that motion? Tony seconds. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so thanks for approving that action item. The consent agenda, hopefully you've all had a chance to roll call on the past one.
Ms. Amat? Yes. Mr. Bryce? Yes. Mr. Driehaus?
Yes.
Mr. Etheridge?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson? Yes. Mr. Metz? Yes. Ms. Moss? Yes. And Mr. Smith?
Okay, thank you all. So on the consent items, there are 4 consent items. The first is the modification to the regional paratransit consultant contract. Second is the BI dashboard update, the contract award there, and the motor oil contract. And the fourth is the one we mentioned with regard to the break room renovations that haven't been renovated since really 4 decades. So you'll see the items in front of you there, and there's where you see in green, of course, we highlight the MBE spend. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as proposed. Mr. Metz moves. Second. Tony seconds. Roll call. All in favor. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye.
And a roll call. Ms. Amat? Yes. Mr. Bryce? Yes. Mr. Driehaus?
Yes.
Mr. Etheridge?
Yes.
Mr. Gibson? Yes. Mr. Metz? Yes. Ms. Moss? Yes. And Mr. Smith?
Okay, thank you for the approval of those 5 items. That is all from our committee, and I'll turn it back over to Blake.
Thank you very much. Mr. Metz, I understand you are handling infrastructure.
I'm here to do my best impression of Miss Sheets. I don't swim as fast as her or run as fast as her or bike as fast as her, but I will give an update as well as she can. We had 2 important conversations. One, an update on the rail right-of-way sale process, robust conversation around the table about how that process will work, and expect to have more conversations about that in the future. And then we got an update on the MTIF program, specifically the Round 5. Would note for any of the local communities who are following along online that the deadline for proposal submittals is open right now, and it is closed on May 30th. So we are in the midst of seeing proposals come in for the next MTIF round. So those are the 2 updates, and we'll get more updates throughout the year on both items as we see that closure. Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right. Financial results. Mr. Walker.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Etheridge. Just to frame everything, I think the group here has the financial results for the month. Once again, for sales tax, we're booking that to budget, so there's really no action. But I do want to highlight as an aside, we received the December numbers late last week, and kind of in the spirit of Ms. Robinson's proclamation with issue 7, the December results were the largest ever that we've received here at Metro. In fact, they were over $1 million greater than any other month. So I think maybe she had a little something to do with that. And onto the summary here, you can see our revenue came in at $13 million. That was unfavorable to budget, driven largely by the lower fare revenue, offset slightly by some CPS, additional CPS passes. The expenses were favorable or less than budget by $161,000. We had mainly driven by wages and benefits. We have a larger vacancy percentage than we had budgeted, along with some challenges with our drivers. That was offset a little bit by some advertising spend. But the good news is that the expenses were better than budget by more than the revenue was less than budget. So it came in with a $400,000 operating capital contribution for the month, which was greater than our budget. Ridership was down slightly to the budget, which affected the revenue, but it was basically flat to last year at this time, and we had one less day, and we also had some weather in February. So all in all, not horrible news there. Now let's go to the next page. Here's my wall of numbers, as you know I like. Focusing more on the year-to-date figures, you can kind of see that we're on the operating revenue, we're slightly under budget. Total revenue basically, flat because we are budgeting to the budget for the first couple months with the county sales tax. Going down to the expenses, kind of the same theme that we had talked about earlier. Wages and benefits a little bit less than budget due to the vacancy and the driver challenges that we have. Fuel and lubricants down with the lower, just lower miles that we have. But all in all, if you look at the bottom line, for the first couple months, the operating capital contribution is a negative $200,000, but that is over $700,000 greater than what we had budgeted. So overall, some good news for the first couple months. And the next page I'm going to go through is really just highlighting the fact that we have $157 million in the bank, but we do have obligations, and the obligations in the middle section, that really hasn't changed much from last month. But just to highlight, this includes 25 and out year spend, so it's not just focusing on 2025. But you can see we still have a positive number at the bottom, which is some good news. With that, any questions from anyone? All right, no. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Questions? Follow-up? All right. That takes us to Metro on the Move. And Daryl has graciously suggested that you can read it. It's in your packet. But I did want to highlight one thing that I should have talked about in my comments, but I got obviously caught up with talking about Gwen. The Golden Bus Awards. Thank you for everybody who could be there. It was absolutely amazing to see all the people who work here at Metro celebrating, proud of their work, proud of their community, proud of what they're doing for the region, and proud of themselves for winning awards. You gotta go. If you didn't go, it will lift your spirit. It will lift your soul. Just going around and talking to all the winners, talking to anybody who's there, the joy, the culture that is there for SORTA Metro is spectacular. And the people are impressive too. I want to say, all those winners, everybody nominated, absolutely amazing. And as always, the team that put it on, just amazing. Every detail, perfect. Could not have been better. So, Golden Bus Awards, great event, great people, good job. So I wanted to note that. But now that we've gone through that, we do have an opportunity for new business. If there's any Hearing none, I think that we should go down and get on that bus. Oh, video, and then the bus. Okay, here we go.
So Gwen was a force. She was driven. And Gwen was driven not by self-promotion, but Gwen was driven by community.
I came in during a time when we were considering the levy, considering what needed to be done, figuring out some really big questions about Metro. Gwen was a steady voice. She was asking the important questions.
Gwen's impact on the board was her ability to see the whole picture and to hold us accountable for delivering on what the community needed.
Her leadership will remain in the boardroom, with the board, with the organization, with our entire community for years, decades. I don't know how long.
She asked the hard questions. She pushed back on us. But Gwen was also that person. When you got things right, she'd pull you aside. She'd praise you publicly. She would praise you privately. Gwen was the full package.
When I think of Gwen, I think of me calling her and asking for her advice. And so we would talk on the phone a fair bit. And I will miss the laugh when I was struggling over a question or what should be done. I'm gonna miss that voice that I could call and trust and know would give me good advice and also put me at ease and assure me that things are gonna be okay. We'll get this done.
Gwen was more than one of my bosses to me. Gwen was more than a board member. I loved Gwen. Gwen was more than a friend. Gwen was family to me. And I'll tell you, I'm gonna miss our conversations. I'm gonna miss her laughter. I'm gonna miss just sitting and talking to Gwen about Metro, about family, about Gwen's life, about my life. She was a mentor to me. And Gwen and I became very close. Gwen's part of my family.
Before we wrap, if anybody else would like to share some comments or memories of Gwen, I think now would be a good time. We will have time on the bus to share as well. And Greg, I don't know if you would like to say anything, because you worked with her for so many years leading this organization.
Yeah, Gwen and I were partners for 10 years. Okay, well, I wasn't. Yeah, she did lead us and made us face tough issues, made sure that we were paying attention to the entire community, moved us forward. You talked about when you joined the board and the turmoil, when she was on the board a couple years before I was, but when I joined, right, we were going bankrupt, we were cutting service, we were not doing a good job for the community, and I think she was such a big part of transitioning from that to something that we should really all be proud of, right? And she should be proud of the work that she did, and I know she was, and the work that all of you have done, and she was so passionate about it, right? And I think it gets easy to forget about our riders and the people that we affect every day, and she was always that voice. So I will miss her too. I consider her family as well, but job well done by her. Thanks.
Sure. I this video is phenomenal. First of all, thank you to the team who put it together. I was thinking about when I first met Gwen. I was telling Daryl this before, and it didn't strike me that I had it struck me that I had known her already when I got involved in transportation issues. And I looked back, did a quick email search, and realized that Gwen was among the small group of people who was really involved in the Preschool Promise. And I had the benefit of working on that when I worked for David Mann. And then it dawned on me that the two biggest issues that I've had a chance to work on in this community that changed the face of our kids and the way people get around in this community, I got to do with Gwen. And you showed that piece of mail that we used for the Issue 22 campaign. And it really was a perfect message. Finally, something that'll make the community smile. Craig is right. This was a really hard place to be in the late 20-teens. But Gwen led with a smile. And so when we put her on that piece of mail, I would hear from her almost every single day. That mail went to every single voter in the city of Cincinnati. And I would hear from her every day. So-and-so got that mail. My neighbor got it today. I went to the store and someone said, I saw you on a piece of mail. And she was just so happy to be able to be the face of this effort to turn the system around. And so I'm appreciative that I got to spend this time with her doing these big things. I'm also deeply sad that whatever the next big thing is, Gwen won't be there for. But I hope that all of us have taken enough of her with us that when we walk into that next big coalition to get something done, that Gwen is there. So just been reflecting on that and appreciate so much her leadership and partnership.
Thank you, Pete.
This is somewhat unique. So I'm fairly new to Cincinnati. I'm new to the board. When I moved here to Cincinnati, one of the first names that I heard about was Gwen Robinson. And not necessarily connected with Metro per se. It was just around, this is a woman you want to meet and just want to be in her presence. So when I had the opportunity to come on Metro, right, I was really looking forward to spending time with Gwen and send her a couple of emails because your reputation, just precedes you. And she's a person who committed her life to those who may not wasn't being heard, or some cases just being set aside. And she stood up and she fought for them. And so I'm somewhat jealous of all of you around the table who had that time with her, because again, every person that I've talked to here in Cincinnati talked about how special of a woman she was, and just my couple of months of interacting with her will still be one of those things that I'll remember with this board.
Thank you. Come on. Let's go for a ride. Oh, motion to adjourn. All right.